Tonight we're diving headfirst into the brutal chess match that was medieval siege warfare. You've seen castles in movies, stone giants standing proud on windswept hills. But have you ever wondered how those towering fortresses actually stood their ground against battering rams, fire arrows, siege towers, and armies screaming for blood? You're about to find out from the inside. So, before the first enemy horn sounds, take a second, like the video and hit subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy the grit and grime of historical survival. And drop a comment with where you're watching from and what time it is. It's always amazing to see who's keeping watch with us from around the world. Now, let's set the scene. You're not a noble. You're not riding out in polished armour. You're a castle defender, a soldier of stone and sweat. Your job? Hold the walls, protect the gate, and if it comes to it, fight tooth and nail to stop the enemy from turning your home into ash. This isn't just a history lesson. It's a siege in slow motion. You're going to learn exactly how a medieval castle was built to resist invasion. From murder holes to boiling oil, from secret tunnels to the last desperate stand in the keep. So grab your crossbow, pull your helmet tight, and keep your eyes on the horizon. The enemy is coming, and your castle is about to show them why it's still standing. It begins the way death often does in a medieval castle. Quietly, then all at once. You're halfway through your morning patrol when the horn blows. One sharp blast from the watchtower. You stop mid-step. That note, that's not a drill. Not the two, tone for lost cattle or the drawn out one for fire in the kitchens. No, this one is short, fast, panicked. A single blare of pure alarm. It means only one thing enemy sighted, and then chaos ignites. The courtyard bursts into movement like a kicked anvil. Stable boys abandon their posts. Guards spill out of barracks half, armoured, clutching weapons. A pig squeals in protest as it's yanked from the path of soldiers dragging ropes toward the gate. One of the cooks shouts for his brother. A child starts crying. A dog is barking and won't stop. You don't hesitate. You run. Because you're not just anyone. You're a defender. A soldier assigned to Castle Arendile's outer walls. A post you once thought was punishment for mouthing off to a knight. But now, it's a position of life or death significance. You know the drill. You know what's coming. By the time you reach the battlements, your lungs are burning, but your eyes scan the tree line before your boots even stop skidding on the stone. And there they are, emerging like ants from the mist. A host of them. Dozens at first, then hundreds, lancers in formation, flags snapping in the wind. Siege ladders, battering ram wagons, primitive but brutal siege towers hauled by oxen and slaves. Someone to your left gasps. It's not a raid. No, it's not. This is an army. Organised, supplied, intent. They're not here to test defences. They're here to take the castle. Your sergeant, Sir Cador, tells over the howling wind. To posts! Signal the inner courtyard! Secure the gatehouse! You know what that means. Everything shifts now. Your world has just become measured in wall widths, arrow counts, and minutes. This isn't a battle, it's a siege. The signal fires are lit. From the tower behind you, a trio of torches burst into flame in rapid sequence: red, green, green. It's the pre-arranged pattern. Code for enemy sighted, readying for siege. The outer village, those few dozen thatched roof homes just outside the main curtain wall, are already being abandoned. You see peasants scrambling up the causeway, some dragging carts, others just carrying sacks. They have 10 minutes, maybe less, before the drawbridge rises. Anyone still outside after that stays outside. And then the second horn blows. This one is longer, sustained. It cuts through the air like a blade. The main gates will be sealed. Right now. You sprint back down the inner stairwell, dodging a frantic monk carrying bundles of scrolls. You shoulder past a boy with a pike twice his height and find yourself in the lower bailey. The drawbridge creaks as the chains start to rise. Beneath it, the moat churns, brown, fetid, and ready to become your first line of defence. To your right, the portcullis groans, its iron teeth descending slowly like a monster's jaw. Behind it, soldiers rush to secure the gatehouse, locking bars, sliding heavy beams into place, bracing the stone frame. And you're sent to the left tower. Your job is to man the winch post and help secure the fire cauldrons on the murder holes. Because here's a thing they don't teach you in chivalry tales: the castle gate is your biggest weakness. It's also your biggest trap. Above the gatehouse, defenders pour buckets of stones into holding racks. Others heat sand over coals, stirring it with metal rods. One particularly nasty looking knight slaps a younger soldier and said, "Not oil yet, idiot! We wait for scaling ladders!" Then he turns and sees you. Get that cauldron boiling? You nod and move. The cauldron is already halfway full, a mix of pitch, tar, animal fat. You light the fire underneath and watch as the thick black goop begins to hiss. The stench is unbearable. You breathe through your sleeve and listen. The drums are getting louder. To the west, the archers are preparing. Lines of them, maybe 60 or 70, checking bowstrings, sharpening arrowheads. Longbowmen get the uppermost positions, better visibility, more lethal range. Crossbowmen and slingers take lower slots. Everyone knows their position. Everyone's seen this drill in training, only this time the arrows aren't tipped with cloth for practice. They're real, barbed, deadly. To your left, a priest begins murmuring prayers over the garrison, dipping his hand in a bucket of holy water and flinging it as liberally as his shaking arm will allow. No one complains. No one moves. They want every drop of divine insurance they can get. Down below, the last of the villagers are hauled inside. The bridge is half, raised now, groaning under its own weight. A young woman screams something and tries to run back out. A guard grabs her by the waist and drags her away. Her child's doll tumbles into the moat. The gate's close. For real this time, you're sealed in. Everything is in motion now, like clockwork. Only the stakes are your lives. You return to the wall, heart pounding. The army is closer. You can hear them, metal on metal. Shouts. Wagons. They stop just outside, bow range. Smart. A commander in dark armour rides forward and shouts something in a foreign tongue. You don't understand the words, but the tone is clear. Surrender. No one replies. The captain gives no signal. A minute passes. Then, as if by divine cue, the enemy commander raises his hand and drops it. The drumming resumes. Siege engines lurch forward. And just like that, the first wave begins. As you lift your pike, the captain turns to your squad. They'll test the gate first. Always the gate. We hold. We bleed them. We do not fall back unless I say so. Understood? Everyone nods. And now you're there, right at the choke point of every medieval siege, the front gate. You glance up, see the portcullis teeth, the boiling oil cauldrons, the arrow slits, the heavy beams bracing the wooden doors. Every part of this structure is designed for one purpose. not to open, to resist. And over the next few hours, you'll learn exactly what that resistance looks like. From the inside, the gate is breathing. That's what it feels like from inside the tunnel. You stand beneath layers of ancient oak and black iron bands, heart pounding in sync with the groaning wood. This is the main gate, the mouth of the fortress, and if the enemy gets through it, everything behind you falls. They always come for the gate. The archers above you are shouting now, loosing their first volleys from the ramparts. Arrows scream overhead, slicing into the morning haze. You can't see the enemy yet, but you can hear them, drums pounding, boots slapping the mud, the high creak of siege engines being hauled forward. It sounds like thunder, but made of men. You brace your shoulder beneath the lowest of the gate beams as two other guards wedge it into place. It's thick, heavy, and slick with oil from years of hands just like yours. There are 3 beams total. This one's the baby. The others are thicker than a man's waist. Each one drops into a groove carved directly into the stone on either side of the gate, locking the doors like a jaw clenched shut. Behind you, the portcullis clanks as it drops. Its iron teeth stab into the stone floor, sealing you in. You feel safer for a moment. Then the ram appears. The first glimpse is through a murder hole, a slit above you meant to dump death onto whoever dares to knock. The ram is big, really big. A wagon-sized box on wheels, covered in wet hides to stop fire. Inside it, you see the thick logs suspended from chains, already swaying like it can't wait to hit something. Positions. Bellows Cercador from above. You know his voice. It's like gravel wrapped in iron. The forward crew scramble. Pitch is hauled up by the bucket. Pots of sand are heated until they hiss. Jars of lime powder, sealed tight, are lined along the ledges. You pull your scarf over your mouth. If you break one of those jars wrong, you're the one who ends up blind. The drum beats outside shift, slower, heavier, like a heartbeat. Then comes the first roar from the enemy line. You grip your pike. Boom. The entire world jolts. The first strike of the ram slams into the gate and your ears ring. Dust falls from the ceiling. Something splinters in the timber. It held, barely. You hear someone shout a curse. And then a guard to your left said, "Still got my toes?" You don't laugh. You don't blink. You brace. Another hit. This one harder. The doors tremble. The wooden crossbeam groans, shifts a little. Not broken. Not yet. Above, a guard drops a clay pot through the murder hole. A torch follows it. The shriek that follows makes your skin crawl. Burning pitch has a sound. It's like meat sizzling and men screaming at once. Still, the ram pulls back and slams again. Boom. This time something gives. A sharp crack. Not all the way through, but the inner beam took a bite. It's not just wood now. It's a countdown. You're shoved aside by a runner, young, out of breath. "Siege ladders! East wall!" Cercador snarls. "Typical. Test the gate, then split us up." He points upward. "You! And you! Wall team now!" You don't argue. You grab your gear and bolt for the spiral stair. As you climb, the sound of the gate fades, replaced by new ones. Screams. Arrow volleys. The deep crunch of ladders hitting stone. You look back only once. The gate is still holding, for now. But war has more than one door, and the next one they'll try to climb over. Down below, defenders regroup. The second beam is being wedged tighter, using mollets and prayer. You hear the hiss of steam from the pitch pots. Thick smoke curling up through slits in the ceiling. Someone calls for more stones. the loose ones kept in barrels for hurling down at the ram crew. You catch the scent of scorched leather. One of the hides draped on the ram is finally starting to burn. That's something. You hear the enemy yelling, not in fear, but fury. They're not retreating. Not yet. Another impact. The door buckles. You feel the vibrations in your knees. Cicada barks. Hold your posts! Let him come. This gate's eaten better men than them. Someone laughs. It's hollow, but it helps. Another runner barrels through. Enemy archers advancing under tower cover. They're aiming for our poor team, Cicada swears. Shield the wall. Get archers on the flanks. You duck as another bucket of pitch is dragged up and tipped. This time, you hear it hit wood. The burning stink rises fast. The ram's front is catching now. Smoke and fire in equal measure. Shouts of confusion erupt from below. You rush with two others to bring the third beam. The thickest one, down into place. It's heavier than death. Takes four of you grunting, groaning, sweating through your cloaks to lower it into the final groove. Boom. It hits again. The impact cracks the second beam. Not broken, but closed. But the third beam, it holds solid. Unmoving. You wipe your brow, hands trembling. The gate has never looked smaller or more important. To the walls comes the next command. You run again. Up toward where the arrows fall and the ladders rise. The gate held. Now it's your turn to hold the sky. The wall shudders under your feet. The stone beneath your boots is trembling. Not from the ram at the gate now, but from the thudding of ladders slamming against the outer curtain. The enemy isn't waiting to break down the door. They're coming over the top. And you are now on that top. You reach the ramparts in a sprint, lungs burning, spear shaking in your grip. The archers make space. You nod to one who just loosed an arrow. His eyes are already scanning for the next target. The air up here is thick with smoke and splinters. Wind whips your cloak, the same wind that now carries the shrieks of wounded men and angry hissing of incoming bolts. Below, the ladders lean in like teeth. The first wave is already climbing. Helmets bob between wooden rungs. Shields scrape stone. Their war cries rise like a tide. There, someone shouts. You rush to the breach. A ladder. Close. The top hooks dig into the stonework beside you. And then, fingers. A hand. The first invader hauls himself into view. Your spear finds him. Slips. Falls. Another takes his place. The fight on the wall is different. It's fast. Chaotic. There's no formation, no clean lines. Just narrow walkways, knee-high parapets, and death every 4 feet. You're forced to fight like a cornered dog. Quick thrusts, short strikes, boots stomping at fingers trying to grip the ledge. One gets over. You clash, blades singing. He's bigger, faster. But you know the wall. You pivot. Drive your elbow into his throat and knock him back. Right into a waiting archer who doesn't wait long to shove him off the edge. He falls screaming. Ladders left and right. Comes another shout. You pivot. The west tower is swarming. A cluster of enemy troops made it up and are trying to widen their foothold. Your captain is already there slashing, shouting. You join him. The stone here is slick with blood. One of your own slips, takes an arrow to the neck, and collapses. You step over his body, drive your spear into a screaming mouth, and twist. Another ladder. Another wave. Archers behind you are shooting non-stop. Quivers empty. Refill. Empty again. A runner brings more arrows in a basket, barely avoids getting cleaved in two by an overzealous axeman. The ladder wobbles. You and 3 others shove it back. It crashes to the ground, taking 2 climbers with it. The enemy tries to use shields to climb. You respond with rocks. Buckets of them, loosed from the top and aimed for skulls. Cracks, screams and silence follow. You're panting, bleeding from the forearm. The wool of your sleeve is soaked through sticky. You can't remember when that cut happened. Incoming. Tower shot. Too late. A boulder smashes into the outer wall's edge, 50 feet down. The impact throws stone chips like knives. One glances off your helmet. You duck, ears ringing. Someone's crying out. You look over. A young fighter has lost an eye. He doesn't know it yet. He's swinging his sword wildly, screaming for his mother. Hold the line. Cicada roars. You do. Somehow you fight. You stab. You shove. You bleed. And slowly, inch by inch, you push them back. After what feels like an hour, the ladder's thin. The dead pile higher than the living. The enemy hesitates. Just for a moment. But that moment is enough. Your archers take it. More volleys. Perfect shots. Throat, chest, eye socket. Another ladder falls. Then another. And suddenly, they're pulling back. Cheers erupt. Ragged, hoarse. You slump to your knees, gulping air. The wall is yours. For now. But you know better. This was just the opening act. The probing strike. The real siege hasn't started yet. And, as you look down at the bodies, at the wrecked ladders and broken shields, you can already see them regrouping. Bringing forward something bigger, heavier. They've tested your walls. Next, they'll try to break them. You lean on your spear, dizzy from the effort. The scent of blood, smoke, and sweat clings to your clothes. The archer beside you offers a canteen. You sip. Water. Slightly warm, but it might as well be holy. He says, voice cracking. You nod. More soldiers rush up the stairs to replace the injured, dragging extra quivers, spare spears, a barrel of salted meat. You catch a chunk of bread tossed your way. Chew. Swallow. No time to savour. Cicada marches past, cape torn, sword dripping. They're preparing another push. You lot check the southeast wall. Report on any breaches. You rise again. Joints screaming, legs jelly, but you move. You always move. Past scorched stone, past the bodies of men you knew. You don't look at their faces. Not yet. At the southeast corner, a section of the parapet is cracked. Masonry barely holding. 2 defenders patch it with loose stone and prayer. A horn blows again. 3 short bursts. A signal. Something new is coming. You look to the field, and you see it. A siege tower. Bigger than anything they've brought before. Rolling forward on massive wheels. Armoured. Groaning with the sound of gears and men. And atop it, rows of archers already loosing covering fire. Positions. No time for rest. No time for fear. The wall held. The men held. But now the real test begins. It begins with a shadow. The sun, once blazing high above the battlefield, dims for a moment as the first barrage flies overhead. Dozens of arrows whistling through the air like angry wasps. You throw yourself sideways behind the merlon, the solid part of the battlement, and press your back against stone. Arrows rattle off the wall around you. One embeds itself into the wooden beam just inches from your ear. You peek up. The siege tower is closer now, too close. It groans like a dying ox as its wheels churn through the blood-soaked mud. Shields glint behind arrow slits, and movement flickers at every level. Men, archers. Maybe swordsmen waiting to rush the wall the moment the bridge drops. Another volley. You duck. One of your comrades isn't fast enough. A shaft punches through his shoulder. He gasps, gurgles, and crumples beside you. You reach for him, but he's already gone slack. No time. You return to the fight. The order is shouted, "Fire!" Your archers respond. Their arrows arc high, most bouncing harmlessly off the tower's hide coverings. Some find gaps. Screams follow. Not enough. Not nearly enough. You point to the boiling pitch. 2 men haul it up the pulley rig, sloshing the dark liquid from side to side. Timing is everything now. Drop too early, and it splashes the ground. Too late, and it's your own men in the blast. The tower grinds forward. 10 feet. 5. Close enough now that the top platform might breach the parapet. Then comes the rumble. A new sound. Deeper. Hungrier. You glance down the line. Trebuchets. 3 of them, rising in the distance like skeletal giants. Their counterweights drop. You brace. OMP. The first projectile hits. A boulder the size of a barrel smashes into the lower wall, 20 yards from your post. Stone shatters. Dust explodes upward. Men vanish beneath the blast. A hole, not wide enough to breach, but enough to scare the gods. Gapes where the rampart once stood. The wall is wounded. Another boulder flies. This one misses, landing in the inner courtyard. You hear the crash, the scream. A lucky chicken flutters past, somehow unbothered. You grab your spear and return to the tower. It's here. The bridge on its upper deck slams down with a deafening bang, landing on the edge of the wall with a burst of sparks. For a heartbeat, there's silence. Then comes the roar. Men charge. The first over the bridge carries a round shield and a short sword. You meet him head on. Your spear punches through his gut. He collapses, pulling your weapon with him. You're forced to draw your dagger. More are coming, dozens. You slash, you stab. A man grabs your arm. You elbow him in the face. Another tries to shove past. You trip him. A third drives a blade toward your chest, deflected by your chainmail, but it still bruises deep. The wall is chaos again, screaming, clanging, blood. A fire catches. Someone tipped over a cauldron. Oil. Flame. The siege tower begins to smoke. You don't know who lit it, but thank the saints. Fire crawls up the wooden panels. Screams change pitch. Panic spreads among the attackers. Some try to retreat down the bridge. You kick one off. He doesn't scream on the way down. A knight pushes forward beside you. Not Cicada. This one's younger, fiercer. His sword is crimson already. He drives the attackers back, howling like a beast. You follow him step for step. The bridge begins to creak. Too many bodies. Too much weight. Flames licking at the joints. Then it snaps. The bridge collapses. Half the attackers spill off with it. The others are trapped, cut off from the tower now fully ablaze. Your defenders swarm. You join them. No prisoners. When it's over, the tower burns like a funeral pyre. The wall is slit with gore. Your legs tremble. Your ears ring, but you're still standing barely. Cicador appears at your side, face blackened with soot. He claps your shoulder. Well fought, he says. Then he looks to the east. Smoke rises there too. You hear new cries. Not battle cries. Desperate, pitiful ones. They're hitting the inner yard, someone says. You look. Flaming shot. Incendiaries. The courtyard is on fire. Not just buildings. Barracks, food stores, the stables. The enemy has changed tactics. They're not just trying to climb the walls. They're trying to starve you. And with night falling, smoke rising, and cries of pain echoing through stone, you realize the siege has only just begun. As dusk settles, the temperature drops, but the heat from burning pitch and charred wood clings to your skin. Every breath tastes like ash. You help move the wounded, some dragging themselves, others carried. Moans echo in the yard. The infirmary is already overflowing. A woman, one of the kitchen staff, tends to a child with a broken leg. You can't tell whose blood covers the boy. Above, the garrison captain lights signal fires. Red flame, a call for help if any allies remain. No answers yet. You glance at the towers. One of them leans unnaturally. The impact weakened the foundation. Masonry teams are rushing to brace it with timber and prayer. Food barrels are being counted. Water skins rationed. Someone says it could be weeks, maybe more. A younger guard pulls you aside. Do you think they'll breach the keep? You look him over. Face pale, hands trembling. If we hold, you say, maybe not. It's not a lie, but it isn't the truth either. And as the stars creep into view, and the screams quiet down to sobs, one thing becomes clear. This is no longer a battle. It's a siege. And survival just became the hardest job of all. Morning comes without sunlight. The sky is a smear of smoke and ash, and the once crisp air of the highland winds is heavy with the stink of fire, blood, and something worse rot. Not the rot of bodies. That will come later. This is the rot of a life unravelling slowly, painfully, from the inside. The courtyard's quiet now. No screams. Just coughing. The kind that rattles from deep inside. The kind that sounds like it wants to climb out and walk around. Everyone's sick, or tired, or both. You wake where you collapsed. Not in a bed, but on stone. Someone threw a blanket over you in the night. Your limbs ache. You can't remember the last proper meal. Maybe a hunk of barley bread 3 days ago. Maybe longer. The baker's gone. The oven cracked during the bombardment. Bread now is a luxury measured in crumbs and scraped flour. Water's worse. You share one bucket with 7 others. Warm. Metallic. You drink anyway. Somewhere someone rings the bell. Not for an attack. That would almost be welcome. No, this is the bell for morning duties. Because the castle doesn't stop breathing just. Because it's bleeding. Walls still need patching. Ashes need clearing. Fires need containing. Bodies need burning. You stand. It takes effort. Around you, others are already moving. Quiet, grim. You help carry a beam up to the broken wall. It takes 4 men. It should take 6. One slips, and the whole thing crashes down again. Nobody curses. No one yells. You start over. Meals are issued in the great hall, though there's nothing great about it anymore. The roof's gone. A gaping hole lets in the sky. Inside, barrels of preserved food have dwindled to salted fish and pickled roots. 1 slice each. No seconds. A boy cries when his portion falls to the floor. No one laughs. One of the soldiers tears his ration in half and hands it over. That earns a nod from the quartermaster, but nothing more. There's no punishment for generosity here, just risk. At midday, you're back on the walls. Not to fight, but to watch. They're still out there, camped beyond the moat, tents like balls across the landscape. You see movement. Construction. Another siege tower. Maybe. Maybe something worse. They don't attack today. They don't have to. They're waiting for you to starve. Inside, morale unravels. A blacksmith killed his apprentice last night. An argument over water. The boy bled out next to the forge. The heat was still on. No one spoke of it this morning. The body's already on the pyre. Flies are everywhere. You kill 3 with a swipe of your sleeve. They come back. They always come back. You help clean the eastern wing. Smoke damage. Charred wood. Soot clings to your arms. Your face, the inside of your lungs. You try not to cough. Coughing means weakness. Weakness means being sent below to the makeshift infirmary. No one comes back from there. A child wanders past, holding a doll. Her face is blank. Her steps are steady. Too steady. You remember her from before. She used to sing. No one sings now. The chapel bell rings again. You head there. Not for prayer, though some still kneel. No, this bell means bodies. 4 this time, covered in cloaks. 1 slips. A hand rolls out, fingers blackened. Someone gags, you light the fire. Smoke drifts upward. Night falls. The cold sets in, sharp and wet. Fires are scarce now. Wood ration tighter than food. You curl into a corner near the stable. Horses are gone, eaten. But the straw remains, and straw means warmth. You try to sleep. You dream of bread. You dream of water that doesn't taste like rust. You dream of silence. Not the heavy, awful silence of the castle now, but true silence. Peace. You haven't heard that in weeks. A scream wakes you. You leap up, reach for a weapon. It was just a nightmare. Someone else's. A woman in the corner sobbing over her husband's old boots. You settle back. Sleep comes again, slow and mean. Another day waits. Another day like this, or worse, because tomorrow they might not just wait. Tomorrow they might bring fire again, and you are too tired to burn. Still you rise, because you must. That is the rhythm now. Rise, labour, suffer, sleep, repeat. The siege is not a storm, it's a season, and you're caught in it, you and everyone else. By the 4th week, time stops making sense. Days blend together. The routines continue, barely. The guards stop counting shifts. The bell doesn't always ring. One day, no one collects the waste from the lower levels. The smell rises, and no one has the strength to care. The infirmary is full, straw mats soaked with blood and sweat. The healer is out of bandages. She uses scraps from ruined tunics. No herbs left. The last of the good salves was used days ago. Now it's mud, cold cloth, and whispered prayers. You help build another pyre. The old one burned too slow. Damp wood. You add oil this time. A necessary sacrifice. Your cloak still stinks of smoke and of burning hair. Someone starts talking about surrender. Just a whisper. But whispers travel fast when there's no strength left to shout. Sir Cader hears of it. He lines up the garrison and addresses them with words like pride, duty, and legacy. No one responds. Not with cheers. Just nods. You don't know what you believe anymore. That night, you find a rat. Fat. Dumb. Caught in a cracked barrel. You kill it. Skin it. Roast it over the last embers of a watchfire. You don't think. You just chew. It tastes better than anything you've had in weeks, and that's when it hits you. The siege isn't trying to kill you in one great battle. It's trying to unmake you, bit by bit, inch by inch, until you forget the taste of real food, the feeling of clean water, the sound of a morning without fear. But you haven't forgotten yet. And so, with hands cracked and eyes hollow, you pick up your spear again. Because you know what's next. The enemy is patient. They've burned your food, broken your walls, poisoned your sleep, and now they'll bring fire. You just hope you're strong enough to fight it. It starts with the smell. You're on watch, barely awake, when it hits your nose. Not smoke exactly, but something hotter, sharper. Pitch. Oil. Then, the cry from the tower. Flame. You spin. You see it. A black arc rising into the sky from behind enemy lines, trailing sparks. A flaming ball of cloth and pitch. It crests the sky like a star, then dips, falling fast. Impact. The outer barracks erupts. The fire doesn't roar. It explodes. 1 second it's quiet, the next there's screaming. Roof timbers crack like bones. Embers scatter across the sky like red snow. You run before you think. Bucket lines form within seconds. Water, already scarce, is hauled from the moat and the few remaining barrels. You grab one. Slosh. Run. Splash. It barely makes a dent. The fire is alive. Hungry. It devours the barracks. Then lunges at the next structure. A storehouse. You know what's in there dried. Meat, lamp oil, maybe even black powder. Get sand. Someone screams. Smother it. You pivot. Run for the sand barrels kept by the gate. You and 2 others haul one back between you. The wood burns your hands even through gloves. You dump it over a crackling beam. It hisses. Steams. Smokes. Then reignites. Another fireball arcs overhead. This one hits the chapel. Stone doesn't burn, but the roof does. Thatched. Dry. The bell tower catches first. The bell rings once, on its own, as the wood collapses around it. And now it's not a battle. It's a nightmare. Flames leap from roof to roof. You start to understand how helpless villagers must feel when their homes catch fire. The castle, your fortress, your last line of defence, is turning into a pyre. And the enemy, they haven't moved. Haven't fired a shot since. They don't need to. They're watching the fire do their work. You pass by Sir Cada. He's covered in soot, coughing, shouting orders.
Evacuate the hall! Wet the tapestries! Pull the furniture!
Don't let it spread! You obey. Everyone does. Even the injured. You run into the hall. It's already thick with smoke. You soak a blanket in the bucket and wrap it around your mouth. Others do the same. Inside, the grey oak tables are being hauled out one by one. Slow, brutal. The flames eat through the ceiling like paper. Outside, the stable collapses. You remember sleeping there. You push the thought down. You hear crying. Children. Civilians. They're being moved to the keep. The stone tower within the walls. The last refuge. Fire won't catch as easily there, if they make it. You help carry one child. She clings to your neck. Doesn't make a sound. Her skin is hot from the smoke. You hand her off to a nurse at the keep steps. She doesn't let go. They have to peel her off you. You turn back to the blaze. By mid-morning, half the outer ward is gone. The fire is slowing, not from effort, but from lack of fuel. It ate everything it wanted. It's leaving the bones behind. And the sky, still dark. The sun is a rumour. You haven't seen it in hours. You collapse beside a wall, chest heaving, throat raw. Your hands are black. Your hair smells like death. Your eyes sting every time you blink. Sir Cada appears again. Sits beside you. He doesn't say anything. Just hands you a water skin. You drink. You hand it back. And then you sit there, both of you, staring at the smouldering skeleton of what used to be your home. Naro, Naro, Amano, Naro. By nightfall, it rains. A mercy. Or maybe luck. Or maybe the gods weren't done teasing you. The ash turns to paste. The embers hiss. The fires die in puddles. But so does the last of your hope. The storehouse is gone. The barracks. The chapel. Half the outer wall is scorched, weakened. The moat is choked with debris. You saw a horse floating belly up earlier. And worst of all, the people. You lost more today than in all the battles combined. Not in fights, but in flames, smoke inhalation, collapse, panic. Sir Cada stands before the survivors. No speech. Just facts. We have 2 weeks of food. Maybe. Water's low medicine gone. If they attack now, we hold the keep. Nothing else. No one nods. No one cries. You just listen. And then you go to work again. Clearing rubble. Making new plans. Piling broken stone like sandbags. And all the while you wonder what's next. They've burned your buildings, your supplies, your spirit. Tomorrow, they'll come for your mind, with whispers, with fear. And after that, they'll come for the walls again. But you'll be waiting, inside the keep, with nothing left but rage. And maybe, just maybe, that will be enough. The fire is out. But the war burns hotter than ever. And the next move, it won't be from them. It'll be from you. They burned your supplies. They collapsed your barracks. They cracked your walls and smoked your lungs. But they didn't break you. And now, in the charred silence that follows the fire, something shifts. Fear stops being the dominant feeling. Now, it's anger. It's hunger, not for food, but for payback. You start to think differently. Everyone does. This isn't about survival anymore. This is about endurance. Endurance means cunning, and cunning means traps. You begin with the moat. The enemy thinks it's useless, too shallow to drown, too wide to leap. They've started building rafts, bridges, but that's fine. Let them, because now the moat isn't just water, it's bait. You and a few others spend 2 nights in the mud, in the dark, dragging up the corpses. The ones that fell from the ladders, the ones from the fire, they're not pretty. But they don't need to be. You lash them together beneath the waterline, rope through bones, weighted at the edges so they float just beneath the surface. Someone asks why? Because it's worse this way, you say. Let the enemy step into the water thinking it's just water. Let them feel the brush of a hand. A bloated, sunken face. Let them know. Let them imagine what's waiting beneath. Let them feel watched. Even if they're alone. Next, the traps. You dig shallow pits along the inner wall, just deep enough to break an ankle. You cover them with cloth, dirt, bits of rubble. You sharpen sticks and lay them flat. Every footstep might be the last. You want them to hesitate. You rig broken stairways with tripwires. Barrels filled with stones balanced on ledges. One tug on a door. An avalanche. Spikes hidden under hay. Loosened floorboards above the stables. The gatehouse is worse. You rebuild the murder holes. Add quicklime jars. The new ones are made from broken pottery, sealed with wax. One smash and the dust blinds burns, devours the lungs. You test one on a rat. It doesn't survive. One of your comrades grins. We're not defenders anymore, he says. We're predators. You don't argue. Because you agree, then the whispers start. Not from the enemy. From you. You wait until nightfall. Then, from the walls, you shout lies. Our reinforcements are days away. We have reserves. You've killed no one. You shout in different voices, different accents. Sometimes you use drums, sometimes horns. Sometimes you beat on the walls with sticks, make them echo like boots. Sometimes you let the castle fall completely silent. Hours pass, no lights, no movement. Then one scream, a woman's voice. Blood-curdling, practice. It echoes through the valley. The enemy stirs. Patrols light torches, bows are readied. But nothing comes. Just silence. And then laughter. Real. Fake. Echoes. They can't tell. That's the point. You're not strong enough to win by force. But if you can twist their fear, if you can make them doubt their strength, you might last another day. Might make them think twice about every step. By the end of the week, the enemy has stopped approaching at night. They lost 2 scouts in the moat. They won't say how. You know, a tower collapsed on 6 of their engineers. A rope had been moved, a counterweight released, and then there's the birds. Dead crows strung with entrails. You hang them from the battlements, not for protection, for horror. A message: this place is sick, touched, cursed. You're not just resisting now, you're haunting them. You paint sigils on the walls, old runes, blood, ash. Do they mean anything? Maybe. Maybe not. But belief is a weapon, and you're turning every stone of this castle into a blade. Even the keep plays its part. You open the higher windows at night. Let light flicker just enough. Shadows of people pacing. A full garrison, maybe. Or so they think. You use mirrors to bounce light. 2 torches become 10. You rig silhouettes with spare cloaks and poles, moving them with string. From a distance, it looks alive. Strong, a hive of motion and readiness. Inside you can barely stand. But outside they still see a fortress, still see a reason to wait. And that's enough. Because the longer they wait, the more winter creeps in. The more food they burn, the more cold they feel. And you, even starving, even broken, you become the nightmare that won't die. You set up a post to collect rumours, anything overheard from captured scouts or defectors. Morale is dropping, they say. Some soldiers whisper that the castle is cursed. Others refuse to take night watch near the moat. You feed these rumours. Leave strange marks on trees, just outside their range. Arrange skulls in geometric shapes. Draw maps in ash. Let them find them. Let them wonder. Let them invent monsters you don't even need to name. And when they begin to fear each other, when a soldier glares too long at his own commander, wondering if he's lying, then you'll know it's working. The mind breaks before the body. You know that now, and you're betting everything that they will break first. Before the final assault, before the last arrow, before you have to make the choice between burning the keep or opening the gates. You're not just surviving, you're fighting back, with shadows, with tricks, with every dark thought you can weaponize. And the enemy, they don't know it yet, but you're already inside their heads. And that's where this siege will be won, or lost. Let them try the gate again. Let them cross the moat. You have corpses in the water, knives in the rubble, and monsters in the dark. And most of all, you have them questioning what's real, and sometimes that's all it takes. You first hear it at night. A soft, dull thudding, barely a sound, just enough to stir you awake. At first you think it's your heartbeat, then you think it's someone walking above. But no, it's beneath. You press your ear to the floor. There it is again. Digging. The enemy has taken the siege underground. Mining a castle isn't easy, but it's effective. You dig beneath the walls, hollow out the earth, brace it with timber, then set it alight. Let gravity do the rest. A collapsed tunnel means a collapsed wall, and a collapsed wall means a breach. You know this? Everyone inside the keep knows this. So now you become something else, a listener. Men are assigned to crawl through the lower levels of the fortress, laying their ears against the stone. Some take shifts in silence. Others knock patterns and wait for responses. You've never been more afraid of quiet. The tapping returns. Closer now. You dig your own tunnels, counter mines. Crude, narrow, claustrophobic, you work by candlelight, hammer in one hand, dagger in the other. Just in case, you hit rock. You reroute. You find soil. You push on. The air grows thinner the deeper you go. The earth smells like mould and metal. You breathe it in because there's no choice. Sweat slicks your back, your neck, your palms. The candle sputters. You light another. One of your crew coughs. A rattling. Dig quiet? Someone whispers. You nod. Hammer? Listen. Hammer again? Then you break through. The two tunnels meet. Not planned. Not announced. Just the sudden collapse of a wall, and then you're face to face with the enemy. Close combat underground is worse than war on the surface. You can't swing properly. You stab. You bite. You claw. A man screams and his torch goes out. Another goes silent with your blade in his ribs. You hear a gurgle. Feel a boot slam your shin. You fall sideways. Scramble, slam your hammer blindly. The fight is over in seconds. Then silence. Then smoke. The enemy left a fire burning. Their mine collapses behind you. You run. You don't breathe until you're back in daylight. You light your own fires, collapse your own tunnels, and pray the stone above still holds. The saboteurs change tactics. You find poisoned meat in a storage bin. The water barrels smell odd. One guard reports seeing a shadow near the inner well. You lock it down. You start tasting everything before sharing. Rats die first now, not from traps but from trial. You check ropes, gates, mechanisms. Nothing is safe. A wheel breaks under pressure. A bucket line fails during a fire. Was it wear or sabotage? You stop trusting the difference. You find the gatehouse pulley jammed with iron nails. Small, precise, deliberate. You pull them free with a dagger, each one like a warning. A reminder that not all danger comes with swords. Someone suggests a traitor, a spy. Paranoia festers. The night guards start watching each other. The smith refuses to work alone now. The cooks sleep in shifts. Even the priest locks the chapel door. Then come the false alarms. One night, a tunnel collapses on its own. Soil too soft. You dig 2 men out. The other is not. Another night, a guard reports hearing voices through the stone. Whispering. Mocking. You check. Nothing. But the fear remains. They try to sneak messages in. Arrows with notes. Dead birds with parchment sewn beneath wings. Always short. Always cruel. Give up. You are alone. The end comes. You burn them without reading. You tell the others they were blank, because doubt is the real poison. And doubt, once sown, grows faster than fire. Some men begin sleeping in their armour. Others stop sleeping at all. Your dreams change. You start hearing digging while you sleep. In your bones. Behind your eyes. One night, you wake gasping. Sure someone is clawing through the wall beside your bed. You grab your dagger. Check. Nothing. But the fear stays. You find scratches on the inside of a storage door. No one admits to making them. Just lines. Dozens. Tallies, maybe. Or something worse. You stop counting days. You measure time by tunnel collapses. By screams. By silence. The engineers propose a trap, a mine of your own. Rigged with pitch and powder. Packed deep below the suspected enemy shaft. If they break through, they ignite it. You dig. Deeper than ever. You pack the chamber. Set the fuse. Seal it shut. You wait. Nothing. Days pass. Then a rumble. A boom so deep it rattles the keep. Stone shakes. Men brace. A plume of smoke bursts from a hidden crevice. The trap worked. You celebrate quietly, grimly. One less tunnel to fear. But not the last. And still, they dig. You hear it now every day. Tap scratching. Breathing. Sometimes it's real. Sometimes it's not. You can't tell anymore. The siege has gone beneath the skin. You're fighting ghosts now. And yet, you keep digging. Because if you stop, the wall falls. And if the wall falls, everything ends. So you listen. You hammer. You wait. And you pray the ground beneath your feet holds just one more day. You never hear the final blow. There is no horn, no warning, no moment to brace. Just a deep, cracking boom. a sound you feel in your ribs before you hear it with your ears. The ground jumps beneath your boots. Stone dust rains from the ceiling. Men stop mid-sentence. And then comes the shout. They've broken through. You run. You don't remember grabbing your weapon. Don't remember pushing past the terrified, the bleeding, the sleeping. You only remember the light. Bright, sickly daylight where there should be wall. A breach. A gap 20 feet wide yawns in the western wall. Rubble spills like bones. Smoke curls, and through it they come. First in twos, then in dozens. Enemy soldiers, faces blackened with ash, pouring through the breach like water from a burst dam. The defenders meet them head on. You are one of them. The first clash is chaos. Not a fight. A frenzy. Metal screams. Men shout. You stab, swing, pull back. Blood slicks your gloves. You trip over a body. Yours. Theirs. You don't know. You stab again. It takes everything. And still they come. The breach becomes a funnel. They push from behind. Their own wounded are trampled. You see a knight fall beneath 3 boots. His scream is short. You and the others fall back, not because you want to, because you have to. Stone breaks, shields splinter, swords dull. You give ground, inch by inch, toward the inner keep, toward the last defense. The captain's voice rises above the chaos.
Fall back! All to the stair!
You drag a wounded man with you. His leg is ruined. He begs you to drop him. You don't. Arrows fall around you, flaming, screaming. One hits a runner. He topples backward, torch still lit. His body burns in place. You make it to the inner gate, the last line. The portcullis drops. The final doors are slammed shut. You and maybe 40 others make it through. Others don't. Their screams last longer. Inside the keep, silence falls. Not peace. Not relief. Just quiet, the kind that knows it can't last. You look around. Faces like yours hollow, bloodied, wild-eyed. Someone weeps. A priest whispers prayer. A girl clutches a broken bow. You grip your blade. You ready yourself, because they're coming. And the last stand begins now. The keep is stone, thick, strong, built for this moment. But even stone can fall. You take your position on the upper stairs. Narrow steps, perfect for defense, terrible for escape. You hear them outside. Not loud, not hurried, just steady, mocking. They know you're cornered. They want you to feel it. The door shakes. A battering ram, small, improvised. The hinges groan. You grip your shield tighter. You think about your family, your home. The last letter you wrote but never sent. Then the door bursts open, and the real fight begins. It is not like the others. The stairwell is too tight. Their numbers mean nothing here. They come one at a time, and you meet them with steel. The first man gets a spear to the throat. The second you push with your shield, he tumbles backward, knocking over the third. You hold. You hold because you have to. There are 10 of you on this stairwell. Below you, dozens wait. Behind you, the last of the non-combatants huddle in the upper keep. They have nowhere to go. You cannot lose. They send fire next. Torches hurled through the breech doors. Smoke thickens. You tie a cloth over your face. Eyes sting. But still you fight. A young squire falls beside you. Arrow through the ribs. He gasps for breath. Like a fish on the dock. You take his place. The enemy pushes. You push harder. They slip on blood. You use it. You shout until your throat breaks. You swing until your arms fail. You taste iron. You taste ash. And still you hold. The line buckles. You fall back another step. Then another. You're halfway up the stairs now. They're forcing you back. But they bleed for every inch. You hear someone say, "This is it." You don't know if it's hope or despair. Then a bell rings. Once, twice, 3 times. A signal. You don't know what it means. Then you hear it a horn. Far off. From the woods beyond the walls. You freeze. The enemy freezes. You all listen. It comes again. A rescue. Reinforcements. No one knows. But for one blessed moment, the fighting stops. The enemy commander shouts something. Their front line hesitates. You seize the moment. You press forward. You shout not words, just sound. A battle cry made of desperation. Others join you. And somehow, someway, you push them back a step. Then another. You reclaim 2 stairs. Nothing. Everything. And behind you, the horn sounds again. This time, you believe it. Someone is coming. And if they can hold 1 more hour, just 1. Maybe the fall doesn't have to be the end. The air thickens again. The enemy reforms. The stair becomes a killing pit. You slip, regain footing, drive a blade into the next neck you see. Another torch falls, this time on an oil-soaked shield. Fire licks upward. You stamp it out. From the tower above, someone throws a barrel. It crashes, scattering powder and sand. A trap. The enemy flinches. You lunge. You no longer fight to win. You fight to delay. You fight for the horn. 1 more hour. 1 more breath. 1 more stand. Whatever it takes. The horn sounds again. Closer this time. Clearer. You hear the note tremble as it cuts through the clash of steel and the roar of fire. It's the sound of something you barely dared to believe in any more hope. Someone is coming. You don't know who. You don't know how. But it doesn't matter. The sound changes everything. For a moment, just one, you see your enemy falter. And you strike. The blade in your hand is cracked. Your arm is numb. But still you drive the point forward. Into flesh. Into a throat. Into the next second of survival. Behind you, the defenders scream. Not in fear. In fury. Hope makes monsters of you all. From the keep's highest window, the captain spots them first. A banner. Green and gold. The crest of the outer counties. Riders. Dozens of them. Behind more troops. Hundreds? Maybe. They crest the far hill like a tide returning. You don't have time to cheer. The enemy isn't broken yet. They're desperate now, like cornered wolves. They know if they don't take the keep now, they never will. So they throw everything. The stairwell becomes hell. Flaming pitch. Sledgehammers. Axes. Screams. They climb over the bodies of their own fallen. You push back with raw muscle. With blind rage. Your arms no longer feel like yours. Just tools. You lose count of the number you kill. You lose count of the minutes. All you count now is the horn. Every time it blows, your heart beats again. Then the moment comes. A great boom outside, not a horn. A gate crashing open. A cheer from beyond the walls. The reinforcements have arrived. They charge the breach. Your enemies turn. Some fight on. Others flee. You don't chase. You collapse. You sit among the rubble and the blood, not sure if you're alive or dreaming. It takes minutes for your ears to stop ringing. It takes hours for the smoke to clear. It takes days to count the dead. Hope came, but it came late. The courtyard is a graveyard. The inner gate is cracked. Half the keep is ruined, but it stands. And so do you. Barely. You find the captain. He leans on a broken spear. His face is bandaged, one eye gone. He grins anyway. Told you they'd come? You nod. Then cry. The survivors gather at dusk. Fires are lit. Not for warmth, but remembrance. They read names. Too many. They bury what they can. Burn what they must. The banner of your castle still flies. Tattered, but flying. And now you ask yourself, what was the cost? What did hope truly buy? The answer is in every scar, every grave, every broken soul staring at the wall that didn't fall. But somehow, through the ash and the silence, you hear something else, the horn. One last time. This time not a call for help, but a salute. To those who stood. To those who fell. To those who never stopped fighting. And to you. The aftermath stretches into days. Rescue forces begin to tend to the wounded. Tents rise. Fresh water is hauled in from the forest rivers. You're given broth. Clean bandages. A bed, though you barely sleep. You're asked to write names. Confirm who survived. Who didn't. Some names come easily. Others you refuse to say aloud. You help gather the dead. There are so many. A makeshift memorial rises in the old chapel ruins. Stones marked with initials, bits of armour, locks of hair. You visit it twice a day, not for prayers, for memory. You speak to the dead. You tell them what happened, that they mattered, that they were not forgotten. The captain is carried out 1 week later. Alive. Barely. He raises a hand to the crowd, then sleeps for 2 days straight. When he wakes, he asks for you. You go to him. He gives you a task, rebuild the wall. You nod. Not because it feels possible, but because it must be done. And so you begin. Stone by stone. Block by block. You lift with shaking arms. You scrape mortar with bloodied fingers. Others join you. Former servants, healers, archers, children. No one is exempt. The wall rises again. Slowly, but surely. 1 month later, the castle stands again. The breach is sealed. The moat is dredged. The new banner flutters over the repaired battlements. You watch the sun rise from the top tower. It's quiet, but not the quiet of fear, but the quiet of peace. Real peace. The kind that costs something. And now, as Section 12 nears, you wonder, how do you live after this? How do you carry victory when it feels like grief? There is only one answer. You carry it together, 1 day at a time, 1 stone at a time, until the memory becomes strength, and the fortress never falls again. Peace has weight. It's heavier than armor, heavier than guilt. You feel it most in the mornings, not in the wounds. They still ache, but in the quiet, the absence of screams, the stillness where orders once barked, where horns once rang. The castle breathes again, slowly, deeply, but it remembers. And so do you. You begin to notice things, small things, flowers pushing through cracks, birds nesting on the battlements, children playing in the courtyard where so many fell. Laughter returns, tentative, soft, then real. Someone bakes bread again. The smell makes you cry. You didn't know you missed it. The kitchens are full of steam and noise once more. The blackened stones have been scrubbed, and the hearth relit. One of the old cooks returned from the village and took charge without a word. She slapped your hand when you tried to sneak an extra crust. You laughed. For real, you learned to eat slowly again, to taste, to breathe, to stop expecting an arrow through the window. The walls are whole now, stronger than before, reinforced. The labour took months. Every stone a memory, every hand that placed it a survivor. You walk the perimeter daily. A habit now, a promise. One morning you pause at the western breach. The place where the gate once failed. A boy sits there, sketching the sky. Why here? You ask. He shrugs. This is where everything changed. You nod, because he's right. The breach has been sealed, but not hidden. A line of darker stone marks the spot. A scar left on purpose, so it won't be forgotten. Visitors touch it when they arrive. Some cry, some whisper, all respect it. The captain never returns to full strength. He walks with a cane now, but his voice still carries. When he speaks, people listen. He names you warden. You try to refuse. He doesn't let you. You stood when it mattered. That's enough. So you lead. You build. You teach. You remember. You train the next watch. Younger faces. Sharper eyes. You teach them to listen to stone, to trust silence, to hold the wall. One asks you, did you ever think we wouldn't make it? You tell the truth. Every day. Then you smile. And we made it anyway. You hang a bell in the courtyard. A quiet one. It rings every dawn. Not as an alarm. As a reminder. We are still here. A museum opens in the lower hall. Spearheads. Broken bows. The banner, suit stained and stitched. Visitors come from the outer counties. They kneel. They weep. They ask questions. Was it as bad as they say? You say worse. Then smile, because you survived, because they're safe now. A travelling bard writes a song. Children sing it on market days. It makes you uncomfortable. Too bright. Too fast. But when you hear it from the tower top, drifting on the wind, you let it play. Let it live. One day you catch a child drawing the siege. Crude figures, giant walls, flaming arrows. You kneel beside him. Why draw this? He says, because it's real. You ruffle his hair and nod, because he gets it. You plant a tree in the courtyard. An oak, thick roots, wide limbs. It grows fast. One spring, a swing appears on a low branch. No one claims it. But the children use it, every day. On the first anniversary, you hang lanterns in the oak. One for every name. They sway in the wind, soft light. Silent tribute. That night, no one speaks. And no one has to. A girl sings a lullaby. You don't know the words, but you recognize the tune. Time passes. Seasons turn. The stone fades, but the memory does not. You stand on the tower wall one morning, watching the sun rise, and behind you footsteps. The boy from before, older now, a journal in hand. Will you tell me the whole story? He asks. You look at him. You see the same spark that lived in your own eyes once. You nod. You begin. And through your words, the fortress lives again, so that what was endured will not be forgotten, and what was built in blood will not fall again. Not while you breathe. Not while the walls remember. Not while the story is told. He listens for hours. He doesn't interrupt. He takes notes. When you finish, he says, I want to help write it down, all of it. You place a hand on his shoulder. Then you already have. You visit the graves sometimes, not often. Just enough. The hill outside the keep has rose now. Simple stones, no grand carvings. Just names. Some don't even have that, but they're clean, tended. You kneel before one, not the captain. Not a soldier, just a friend. You tell them the keep is safe. That the new recruits are strong. You tell them the bakery reopened. That the girl with the broken bow now teaches archery. You tell them you still carry the blade they gave you, that it still cuts true. You tell them you miss them, and then you go, back to the wall. Because that's what you do. In the end, what survives isn't the banners, not the towers, not the stones. It's the people, the ones who stayed, the ones who fell, the ones who returned to rebuild, the ones who remember. And as long as one of you walks the wall, the castle lives, and the silence becomes peace, and peace becomes legacy, and legacy becomes strength, one day at a time, stone by stone, memory by memory, forever. Some legacies are written in ink. Ours is carved in stone. Years pass. The siege becomes a story. The story becomes a lesson. The lesson becomes a myth. But we were there. We remember. The castle stands taller now. rebuilt, reinforced, revered, not because of its walls, though they are thick, not because of its towers, though they are high, but because of what happened here, because of what we chose to become when we could have broken, because of what we refused to let die, because of who we lost and who we became. Every stone you step on, someone bled for. Every gate you pass through, someone held shut with their last breath, and that memory lives in the mortar. Sometimes you pause at the gate and press your hand to the stone, just to feel it, just to listen. They come now, the young and the bold, not just to guard, but to learn. You teach them. You tell them the truth about the cold, the hunger, the fear, and the fire. You tell them about Cicador, about the baker who made you laugh when you thought you'd never laugh again, about the boy who played his pipe during the worst of it. You tell them what it meant to stand, what it cost, and what it gave, because the siege didn't just take. It gave us each other. It gave us the wall. It gave us a story, and it gave us a duty to carry it forward. Every spring you hold a vigil, no speeches, no banners, just candles. Each person lights one. One flame for one life. Some cry, some sing, some sit in silence, but all remember. And in that remembering, they keep the fortress alive. 1 year, a girl brings a song of her own. A lullaby sung in a high, clear voice. No one speaks after. They don't have to. The song says enough. Later, you find the girl again. You ask her who taught her that tune. She says she made it up. You smile, because the memory has taken root. The young scribe finishes the book, The Siege of the Western Keep. He brings it to you, bound in leather, heavy with truth. You hold it like a sword. You read the final line aloud, and so long as the wall stands, they stand with it. You nod. Good? You say. Let them remember. He asks if you'll sign it. You do, slowly, carefully. Your name scratched in ink like a wound. You close the book. You place it on the shelf in the new library, beside a broken arrow, beside a burned gauntlet, beside a sealed jar of soil taken from the breach. On the wall above, a painting hangs, the castle on fire, the defenders on the wall. Your face among them. You never posed for it. The scribe says he imagined it from your words. You nod again, because that's how history is made. The siege made you, marked you, but it did not define you. What defines you now is the choice to keep building, to keep standing, to walk the wall when no one else does, to keep the watch, to keep the fire lit. And when they ask you, years from now, why you stayed, what you fought for, what you lost, you tell them this: you stayed because it mattered. You fought because you loved. You lost because you dared. And you lived. You lived to tell it. And in the telling, it lives forever. You lived so others could live in peace. You lived so the walls could shelter another generation. Some days you dream of the siege. You wake gasping, sweating, hand clenched around nothing. Other days you dream of the tree in the courtyard, of children laughing, of bread rising in the oven. Both are real, both are yours. That is the legacy, not just pain, not just loss, but survival, and the peace you built from it. A peace others now inherit, a peace they must protect. One winter the wall is tested again. A band of raiders, fewer than a dozen. No siege towers, no drums. But they test the gate. You and the watch hold firm. The bell rings once. Just once. They flee before sunrise. You rebuild the cracked gate in silence. But you hang one of their swords in the hall. A reminder. We do not fall. That sword rusts in its mount, but you never polish it. You let time do its work. Because the lesson remains, you write a letter to the outer counties. A warning, a lesson, a welcome. You end it the same way every time. The wall still stands. You teach this phrase to new recruits. When they take the oath, they speak it last, not as a chant, as a promise. Some etch it into their armour, others into the doorposts of their homes. You find the words carved into a tree trunk. One day, miles from the keep, it makes you weep, because the wall is more than stone, it's a belief. This is our fortress, this is our legacy, and it will never fall. Not while we remember, not while we stand, not while the stones speak our names. One day at a time, stone by stone, memory by memory, forever. And when your time comes, as it will, you leave behind more than a blade, more than a title. You leave a story. You leave a place that cannot forget. You leave a wall that cannot fall. And stories do not die. Neither do the ones who tell them. Decades have passed. The fortress stands as it always has, watching over the hills and fields, its shadow long in the morning, golden in the dusk. Children play in the courtyard now, where once fire rained from the sky. Their laughter echoes where screams once lived. Merchants pass through the gates, soldiers train on the grass. The keep is quiet, content, alive. But when the wind blows just right, and the sun hits the west wall, you can still see it. Not with your eyes, with your bones. You can still feel the siege. And if you press your hand to the stone, you swear you can hear it breathe. Your name is etched in the hall of memory. Not at the top. Not in gold. Just a line carved with care. No title, no boasts. Just the truth. They stood. Beside it are others. Dozens, hundreds. Every one of them matters. The hall is quiet. Lit by lanterns. Tended by the young. Sometimes they ask about the siege. You tell them, because it is not enough to survive. You must remember, and you must pass it on. You point to names on the wall. You tell the stories, the small ones, the silly ones, the brave ones, the tragic ones. You tell them about the man who carved jokes into the inner gate while waiting for the attack, the woman who wrote letters every day to a husband who never returned, the child who stood guard for an hour because no one else could, and the young listen. They always do. Some write the names in notebooks. Others draw what they imagine from your stories. You find sketches of heroes pinned in the corners of the hall. Faces imagined, but remembered. Some say the wall is too old now. That stone doesn't last forever. But they don't understand. The wall was never just stone. It was a line drawn in history, a promise, a vow. As long as that story is told, the wall stands. Even if it crumbles, even if the towers fall, the wall will still stand. In hearts, in books, in blood. Because it wasn't just built, it was earned. Earned with fire, with frost, with grit, with grief, with love. You walk that line again, tracing old paths. You remember where the barrels once blocked the door, where the archers bled, where you stood, just a single soul against the dark. It doesn't haunt you, not anymore. Now it anchors you. You place a hand on the stone, whisper a name, then another. You keep walking. The castle is more than walls now. It is school, sanctuary, library, market, temple, forge. Children run along the battlements. They reenact battles with sticks and laughter. They yell lines from old tales. Hold the gate. To the keep.
They shall not pass!
You smile, because they know, even if they don't fully understand. One day they will. You hope they never need to. But if they do, they will be ready. The banners above the keep now bear more than a symbol. They bear names, stories. You help sew them. Each thread a moment, a memory. There's pride in that needlework, in the stitched silhouettes of standing figures, of a wall that never falls. You sit beneath the oak tree, the one you planted. Its roots reach deep now, its limbs wide. There's a swing. A child climbs it. You give them a push. They giggle, and for a moment, the weight of memory lifts. Just a little. You close your eyes and listen. The wind through the leaves, the creak of the swing, and beneath it all, steady and strong, the heartbeat of the wall, still there, still waiting, still watching. Because some things once stood for, never fall, not really, not ever. You begin to write, not for books, not for fame, for them, for the ones who will come after. Your hand shakes now. The letters take longer, but the ink flows. You write of the snow falling during the 3rd week, of the bread ration that saved 6, of the guard who played chess with pebbles, of the sound of 1,000 boots on stone. You write of the fire, the smoke, the silence after. You write of the captain's last order, the look in their eyes. You write it all, not in order, not cleanly, but truly. The truth matters. It always did. You bind the pages with thread. You slip them into a chest in the tower. A sign hangs above, to be read when needed. A one day it will be. Pilgrims arrive every year. Some bring gifts, old coins, carved tokens, letters. Some bring silence. They sit on the wall. They place their hands on the stone. They listen. Some cry. Some laugh. Some do both. They leave stronger than they came, because they touched something ancient, something real. A father once left behind a toy sword. Said his son wanted the fortress to have it. You placed it in the museum, near the arrow that held the breach. Now they sit together, weapons of different kinds. The oak tree drops leaves each autumn. You gather a few. One goes into a journal. One goes to a child. One burns in the hearth. You tell the children, even the strongest must rest. They nod. One day they'll understand. A girl asks if the tree will die. You say, everything does, but not today. The forge is lit once more. A young smith works the iron. He finds an old mould, a pendant, the symbol of the keep. He casts new ones, gives them freely, says, so no one forgets. You wear yours beneath your tunic. Close to the heart, one breaks. You melt it, recast it, because symbols can bend, but they don't break. Not if they're real. And when the bell rings, not in warning, but celebration, you go to the tower. The children cheer. The townsfolk clap. A new chapter begins. A marriage, a birth, a song. The siege fades. The fortress lives, the wall remembers, and so do you always.